Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un. Some Western leaders seem to envy the dictator's powers.
He speaks and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
President Obama once said it would be so much easier to be the president of China. Canada's silly prime minister talks about
admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
It's dictator envy.
This utopian dream that if only someone at the top could just point us in a certain direction, everything would go well.
I alone can fix it.
People like a strong leader.
People like a strong leader of their own imagination, one who does all those things that they've always dreamt about.
Dictators do get some things done. China covered this mountain in solar panels.
What if we could just be China for a day?
Thomas Friedman of New York Times famously said that he wanted to be China for a day to solve global warming because it would all be so easy. We've heard lots of people in the West praising China for their ability to get wind turbines everywhere. But those wind turbines don't produce more power. Around 30% of them are not even connected to the grid. And why is that? Because they didn't build them to make money. They built them because they wanted to meet a political goal.
China built a 1,000-bedded hospital in 8 days.
American media told us we should look to China to contain COVID.
How uncomfortable is it that perhaps China's authoritarian ways did prevent this?
I think they prevented a broader spread.
But that leaves out the costs of the dictator's policies.
Tens of thousands forcibly bused to quarantine centers.
The most brutal action against its own people. Citizens being hit, beaten.
One city even put COVID patients' pets in bags and killed them.
The zero COVID policy has turned into a nightmare. That's what you get with dictators. If a government is big enough to give you anything, it's big enough to take everything away from you.
The dictator says that's just what we need to do to get rid of COVID.
Xi Jinping turned zero COVID into a symbol of his powers, his ability to run things, run the world.
That's why China is one country that has not said we must live with COVID.
He cannot live with a virus like the rest of us have learned because that would ruin his reputation.
At the beginning of the pandemic, America imitated China's lockdowns.
This is the Volusia Sheriff's Office. Please adhere to social distancing guidelines.
If we see continued noncompliance, DWP will step in and shut off their water and power.
Oh, you are so full of crap.
There was lots of political bickering.
I don't understand why you would choose Trump.
People hate this, but the fighting does push us to consider new ideas. And in America, the strictest rules were eventually removed. This constant bickering and arguing is not weakness, it's strength.
This is a strength because it means that we see different things and we bring different ideas to the table.
By contrast,
when we have one guy at the top, they begin to fall for their own propaganda myth. Putin, for example, thought that his own military was in excellent shape. Ukraine was seen as a joke of a country, a place of latte-drinking comedians.
Ukrainian President Zelensky was a comedian before becoming president. Woo-hoo! His army was called a joke.
The Ukrainian military is so weak, so outmanned, so outgunned.
And they would just run away the moment they saw muscular Russian paratroopers.
This is probably going to be a very quick operation by the Russians.
But actually, it was the other way around.
This invasion has been a strategic disaster for Russia.
They were going to take over most of the country in a week.
That was the plan. It's been a complete fiasco.
The Ukrainian farmers towing Russian armored vehicles.
Some Russian soldiers are punching holes in their own fuel tanks.
In freer countries,
journalists, people online would have seen those problems already and brought them forth.
But in Russia, no one wants to bring Putin bad news.
Начать переговорный процесс?
Говорите прямо.
Я поддержу предложение о признании.
Поддержу или поддерживаю? Говорите прямо, Сергей.
You all just want to make the leader happy. You don't want to point out the problems, and anyone who does might end up in jail.
So dictators get bad information and make bad decisions because there's no open dissent, no bickering.
This bickering is pointless.
This is the Tarkin mistake. Princess Leia in Star Wars tells Tarkin of the Empire.
The more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers.
That's what happens when you centralize. You will lose individual initiative. You will lose local knowledge. If you can mobilize everybody in one direction, well, sometimes they mobilize us all over the cliff.
The Russians still don't have enough gas and have run out of food.
Democracy cannot guarantee the best governance, but it can prevent the worst from happening. That is enough. And that's really what freedom and democracy is about. It doesn't guarantee us heaven, but at least it makes us sure that we won't end up in hell.